It's the truth. What's coming next is going to be difficult. For all of us. But we're going to get through it together. I promise. I just wanna get it right. And I know that I won't have to try. This time, I'm not going anywhere.
Are you sure about that?
Life is Strange is the first game that I ever reviewed. This was 10 years ago at this point. And I did finish the entirety of the first Life is Strange, but I did not play any other entry in the series until now. The reason is that I was one of those people who was attracted to this series for two reasons. One, it was a Square Enix published game, and as I've mentioned many times on my channel, I grew up playing Final Fantasy, I grew up, Chrono Trigger. I was a Square Enix kid, and so anything that they did I was willing to give a chance. Plus, it was a game that had, time traveling powers. So these are the two reasons that I gave the game a chance. Because of course, if you remove that aspect, if you remove the superpowered aspect of the game, obviously I am not the target audience for this game. It's very clearly I'm not the target audience. I know at this point we are probably the minority, but I belong to the group of people that got into this series for the powers. Now, over the last 10 years, that's not the direction that this series has gone. It seems to be known more for its, I guess, emotional themes, you would call them. Its tackling of like deep personal issues and like traumas and that kind of stuff, which I understand. It basically plays a role similar to like young adult novels and stuff like that. After the first game concluded, I felt like that was a conclusive end to that story. It did not need to be continued, and that was it. And so I moved on. I saw that Square Enix and Dontnod kept making more games in the franchise. I was not interested. I did not come back. Eventually, they brought on another studio, Deck 9, to also make more games. I did not bother, but I did keep an eye on the stories from a distance. Like, I know what happens in all the games because I just watched. I see people talk about them, so I know what happens even though I don't play them myself. Until now, once I saw that Max Caulfield was coming back and that she had new powers, I was like, okay, that I'm actually interested in seeing. There is a part of me that's invested enough to want to know what happened. How did the story advance? In my original ending of the story, I chose to sacrifice Chloe, and basically that is the ending that I went with. And so I knew that if there is save importing or anything of the sort, that's what I would go with for this game. And so I did. To my surprise, I've seen a lot of people complaining about what's done with Chloe. I guess the sacrifice Chloe ending is not the ending that a lot of people chose, and so they sort of expected the character to still be around. To me, that's not a problem. That in my canon, the character would not be alive regardless. In my particular canon, I don't see why this character would live through that story. Although, because the alternative was to sacrifice multiple other people in the town, which I don't know, I just could not justify it. So moving on to Double Exposure, right? This game starts, Max is now like a college teacher or artist in residence, sort of like a lecturer at a college, and weird stuff starts happening again. Her powers reactivate after not being used for so many years, and suddenly she needs to solve a mystery. One of her friends gets shot, and she starts trying to figure out what happened. She soon discovers that she has a new power that allows her to hop into another dimension, and by doing so, she can get into another world, and in this world, her friend is still alive. So that becomes the crux of the story. She's trying to save her friend in the other universe while trying to figure out what happened in this universe. The pros that I would give this game is that it looks really good. they managed to. I heard that they moved to Unreal Engine 5, and somehow the graphics and the character animations, and I guess the voice acting as well, it's pretty well done. If you're treating this like an animated movie, I think it's pretty good. Visually, it's very impressive. But that's basically it. I'm not going to harp on gameplay this time because, I mean, this game falls into the walking simulator category of games. And if I'm going to be honest while reviewing a game, I'm not going to compare this to the Souls-like games I've been playing. I'm going to judge the story mostly, because I think that's really what counts here. The story in this game was traumatizingly bad. I was genuinely surprised. Not throughout, by the way. When it starts pretty well. It seems like you're doing some kind of investigation to figure out what happened, and there's a lot of suspects. And by the way, this is a full spoiler video. It turns out that there's a lot of suspects, and you're trying to figure out who could have done it. Everyone seems to have some sort of shadiness behind them, but none of them seems to genuinely be an evil person. They all seem like, while they have done something shady, they're not like evil people. Then all of a sudden, the game decides to pull like a multiverse thing, a multiverse shtick. It turns out that Max is the one that killed her. And suddenly, the timey-wimey stuff comes back into full focus. I was genuinely surprised. Like, I mentioned that I was attracted to the first game because of the powers, but the powers always seemed to be used as a tool to tell the story. But this time, the powers seem to simply be an end-all be-all unto themselves. It's like this time the story exists just to get into like a whole multiverse X-Men kind of thing where they're going to deal with multiple people that have different powers. Once you discover the big plot twist, which is that the friend you're looking for, Safi, also has powers. She's a shapeshifter. Suddenly the story becomes this us versus them X-Men type thing where she sort of begins to go crazy, right? At first, it's okay. She has a whole story about a book that she was writing where her book was cancelled, and she's really sad about it. And then eventually it's revealed that like one of the teachers sort of took credit for a friend of hers in the past who ended up killing themselves, called Maya. And then at that point, Maya basically gets brought up into the story and becomes a big deal for a little while. Then Safi is confronted with the fact that her mother contributed to the cancelling of her book and has been covering up stuff from when she was a child. They don't really get into that. That entire section is really rushed. They really blast through that section. They don't really take much time to like explore what exactly the mom did and the exact details and get really into it. They sort of start speed running that part. And then after that, Safi basically becomes a villain. It's like there's a snap of a finger. You help her sort of put her mind back together. And then just like that, she snaps and suddenly becomes like a villain. And then she starts offering you, it becomes like a Magneto Professor X thing. Join me, Charles. Let us save our people. Do not stand against me. I'm like, what? What the hell is going on? What is this? And suddenly she heads off. Unlike the first game, you don't have an option to like kill her or let her die. You're not given that kind of option. Like, no matter what you do, the ending plays out the same. Safi walks off. Then Max decides to go and reveal her powers to everyone. And then they put an MCU style Max Scofield will return at the end. I'm like, what the hell is this? Is this supposed to be like a reboot? They want to start like a new set of stories that focuses on Max and basically focuses on the powers? That's not what people like this series for, right? That's not what the core I like the powers, but as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm not the core audience, and I don't think that's what the core audience is interested in. It really, really loses focus towards the end, and I personally felt like I wish they'd done it better, but I kind of feel like they've been getting desperate. First of all, bringing Mark Scofield back and focusing on the powers, to me feels like it was a desperate corporate move to try and bring people back into the franchise, because I don't even understand why Mark Scofield needed to return. Her story was done. This entire story, as it's told, could have just been a new character who can dimension hop. This story did not need to involve Mark Scofield, because then it tramples on the whole Chloe thing, which so many people are extremely angry about. And I feel like that definitely did not help. So yeah, I made my way through the game, but when it ended, I was genuinely delirious, especially when the whole Mark Scofield will return thing hit at the end. I was like,
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you,
We don't care.
Jerry.
it's unfortunate that this is how it went out, with them bringing back the original star character that was universally for the most part liked, and choosing to misuse the character like this. I don't think this franchise will return at this point, and it's unfortunate that this is how it goes out, in a desperation corporate play to try and win fans back by manipulating their love for the original character. And for me, all it did is bring me back 10 years later to take a shit on the first game that I positively reviewed. Truly unfortunate.